Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Thank you all for coming to New Vrindaban and coming to vaśiṣyeta Vrindaban Chandra's temple for the morning program. And thank you for being here for Srimad Bhagavatam. It's so nice to see all of your smiling faces. Smiling masks. Actually, I was thinking you might not be able to tell if a person is smiling by their mouth if they're covered, but you can tell by their eyes. So I'm seeing your eyes today. Krishna. So today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, 9th chapter, verse number 33. Same verse we had yesterday, but we only read part of the purport.
You need to really speak to the mic.
I need to quickly speak into the...
Speak to the mic.
Speak to the mic. My voice is not loud enough?
To us, but no.
Okay. So we'll do the Sanskrit right now, and I'll say, and you please repeat. Aham, evāsam, evāgre, anyat, sad-asat, param, paścād, aham, etac, yo, vaśiṣyeta, so, asmi aham, evāsam, evāgre, nānyad, sad-asat, param, paścād, aham, etac, yo vaśiṣyeta, asmi aham, evāsam, evāgre, nānyad, sad-asat, param, paścād, aham, etac, yo vaśiṣyeta, asmi aham, evāsam, evāgre, nānyad, sad-asat, param, paścād, aham, etac,
aham evāsam evāgre,
aham, evāsam, evāgre,
nānyad sad-asat param, paścād, aham etac, yo vaśiṣyeta asmi aham.
More. Someone else?
Aham evāsam evāgre, nānyad sad-asat param, paścād, aham etac, yo vaśiṣyeta asmi aham.
Aham evāsam, evāgre, nānyad, sad-asat, param, paścād, aham etac, yo vaśiṣyeta, asmi aham. Anyone else would like to try? What chant? Aham, I, the personality of Godhead. Eva, certainly. Āsam, existed. Eva, only. agre, before the creation, na, never, anyat, anything else, yat, all those, sat, the effect, asat, the cause, param, the supreme, paścād, at the end, aham, I, the personality of Godhead, yat, all these, etat, creation, cha, also, ya, everything, avaśiṣyeta, remains, sa, that, asmi, I am, aham, I, the personality of Godhead. Translation. This is Krishna speaking to Lord Brahma. This is a very important verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is called the Shloki, one of the 4 important verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, called the nutshell verses. In these verses, if you're really wise, you can extract the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's condensed knowledge within these 4 verses. So similarly in the Bhagavad Gita, there are Shlok, 4 verses, which encapsulize the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. That is in the 10th chapter, 8, 10, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So, translation. Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself. Nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead. And after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead. Translation again, I say you please repeat. Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself. Nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead. And after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead. Yesterday, we heard 1/3 of the purport and a wonderful class given by Malati, where she explained what the Srimad Bhagavatam was all about. Today, I'm going to read sentence by sentence the 2/3 of the purport. And we will go very slowly to get the mercy of Srila Prabhupada in the form of his purports. Each sentence of the purports of Srila Prabhupada, he explained that these purports are my personal meditations. Srila Prabhupada wrote these purports while we were all sleeping, or disciples were sleeping. In the middle of the night, he would be writing these purports while everyone slept. He would get up and he would concentrate on the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he was writing these purports in such a way as to awaken the sleeping souls, awaken the knowledge, awaken the love which is in our heart, which is what we are hankering for. When Srila Prabhupada was in London or New York, anyway, somewhere, a reporter came and challenged him because so many Westerners at that time, so many Westerners we're coming and becoming devotees. And to those who don't know what is Sanatana Dharma, they're thinking, what is happening? Is a big conversion going on to Hinduism or Indian religion? So one reporter, he challenged Prabhupada. He says, why have you come here? Why have you come here to America? And Prabhupada's answer was very deep, but very short. He said, I have come to teach you what you have forgotten. So, the word Maya and the word Krishna. So Maya means that which is not, or the illusion. We're under the grip of Maya at the present moment, thinking we are this body, thinking we are part and parcel of this material world, and that our happiness is in contacting sense objects with our senses. That is the conditioned life. So in that state, we have forgotten what our real business is. Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, Jeev jago, Goda Chanda bole, Kota Nidra Yayo Maya, Pisa Chira Kole. Wake up, sleeping souls, wake up. How long will you sleep in the lap of the witch called Maya? You have forgotten the way of devotional service and are lost in the world of birth and death. Wake up, take this medicine of the Maha Mantra, because other than God in the form of Krishna or even Lord Chaitanya, you have no other friend in this world. So Krishna says in the Gita, Suridam Sarvabhutanam, that I am the friend of all. Sometimes we think we have good friends in this world that we can enjoy with, party with, do things that we like to do together. But according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there's only one friend in the world, that's Krishna. Of course, anybody who reminds us of Krishna, he's also our friend. So Krishna is explaining in this verse, and he also explains in the Bhagavad Gita, that he is the beginning, the middle, and the end. So this verse starts with the word aham. So in Sanskrit, those of you who know, or those of you who have heard, aham means I. Right? So it's nice. Krishna is speaking about himself. So in the Bhagavad Gita, we also have the nutshell verse beginning with the same word, aham. Krishna speaking about himself. What does he say in that verse? 10:8. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. Mata, what is it? Aham sarvasya prabhavo. Mata sarvam pravartate. Iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. This is the first of the Chatra Shlok in the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna explains the same thing. I'm the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. This is why Bhagavad Gita is very nectarian, because the next thing he says, he explains what a person who understands that will do, right? The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So in this verse in the Bhagavatam, Krishna is also explaining how he is the source of everything. Not only is the source of everything, but this word eternal. Sometimes we're thinking, eternal just means never going to die, right? We usually think like that. How many think eternal means never going to die? How many think that eternal means never going to die, right? Who was a great atheist who wanted to become eternal? What was his name? There you go. Thank you for that. Hiranyakashipu, he didn't want to die, so he practiced all kinds of austerities to please Lord Brahma, so he could not die. Thinking eternal means not die. But there's another side of eternality, which is never born. Never born. And Krishna says this in the Bhagavad Gita, right? 2nd chapter. Najayate mrite vakadachin. He explains, never was there a time. Not aham. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. The soul is eternal, primeval, ever existing, undying, never slain when the body is slain. So the nature of the soul is eternal, unborn, ever existing. Why is that? Because the soul is a tiny sample of the Supreme Soul. Just like if you analyze, Prabhupada gives this example millions of times, if you analyze a drop of water from the sea, what will you find?
Same quality.
It's salty. What else? It's wet, it's water. You'll see all these qualities. This is part of the ocean, but minute. So similarly, the soul is part and parcel of Krishna, the Supreme Soul, param atma, parameshvara. He's the Supreme. Ishvara parama Krishna satchidananda vigraha anadiradi govindam sarvakarna karanam. So Krishna says, or Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is speaking about Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna, your supreme controller. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha. The body made of eternal, Satchit, full of knowledge. Eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. Is it still not loud enough?
No, it's good.
Okay. I'm practically screaming here. Eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. It's a form also. Form. So this verse explains Krishna's position. It's important to understand. And it's amazing because in this verse, the word aham, I am, I, the personality of God is used 3 times. He's very much emphasizing the fact that he's a person. Supreme person. Unfortunately, the Mayavadi philosophers, or those who like to misuse the Bhagavatam, take this verse and somehow or another twist the meaning of this verse to mean that aham means everyone. Just like if I say, wow, I'm speaking so loudly, my throat is becoming dry. Could you bring me a glass of water? So somehow or another, some people would interpret that means that I should be, that what I'm saying is bring a glass of water to everyone in this room. That's called word jugglery. That's what the Mayavadis try to do. So Krishna is clearly saying, I am the source. Right? So this is Bhagavad Gita, this is Srimad Bhagavatam. So in another verse in Bhagavad Gita, which I'd like to share with you today, famous verse. Patram, anybody know it? Patram pushpam, palam toyam. Can somebody say it loudly? Okay, wonderful. Do you hear the word aham in that verse? You do hear it, right? The 3rd line. Tad aham bhakti-payatam. Krishna says, if one offers me a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water with love, I will accept it. I will accept it. So Prabhupada was explaining in one lecture that there is a group of religionists, so-called, in India called the Arya Samaj. The Arya Samaj, their whole purpose is to criticize the scripture or to find fault or to doubt. So Prabhupada was telling us that one day a member from the Arya Samaj came to see him. And he said, "Do you think that Krishna eats?" And Prabhupada says, "Yes, of course. Krishna says, 'I eat.'" Bhagavad Gita, he quoted that verse. He says, "Well, I don't think Krishna eats." And Prabhupada said, "Who should I listen to? A loafer like you? Or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead?" Right? So that's our choice always. Who do we listen to? Who do we hear from? Who do we have faith in? Where do we put our hearts? So I am, right? So Krishna is a person. This is what this part of the Bhagavatam explains, that Krishna is a person. Lord Brahma, he realized Krishna, and what did he see? He met Krishna face to face after performing his austerities. And as Prabhupada, I'm forgetting the whole purport. Okay, we have to go on the purport. The other feature of this statement is that the supreme truth is Bhagavan, or the personality of Godhead. So Krishna says, I, aham, and he's referring to himself. And the next sentence here, the personality of Godhead and his kingdom have already been explained. So in the 13th, about 20 verses back maybe, there's a bunch of verses which explain the nature of Vaikuntha. The kingdom of Godhead is not void as conceived by the impersonalists. So in other words, as soon as you say person, then you have to, or in this term it said, as soon as you say king, you have to say kingdom. Right? Just like, even a person, right? A small person like us, you say, Nityo Dita, Das, you immediately think, where does he live? Who are his family members? What does he do? So in the same way, God is a person. He has a kingdom, right? And he performs activities. This is all explaining here. The Vaikuntha planets are full of transcendental variegatedness, including the four-handed residents of those planets, with great opulence of wealth and prosperity, and there are even airplanes and other amenities required for high-grade personalities. So in other words, the whole understanding of God means God and his paraphernalia, God and his abode, God and his activities. Therefore, the personality of Godhead exists before the creation, and he exists with an all-transcendental variegatedness in the Vaikuntha planets. The Vaikuntha lokas are also accepted in Bhagavad Gita as being of the Sanatana nature. Does anybody know which verse Prabhupada is referring to? They are not annihilated, even after the annihilation of the manifested cosmos. I have a godbrother who was challenged one time by other godbrothers. This happens between godbrothers. They say, why are you reading all these Goswami literatures? They were challenging him. And he said, well, when I read Prabhupada's books, I just don't read all the way through. I read very slowly. And when Prabhupada refers to some piece of knowledge, even another piece of Gaudiya Vaishnava literature, I go and find that book and find what Prabhupada is referring to. So in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the 20th verse, this is what Prabhupada is referring to here. What is the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita called? Does anybody know? Attaining the Supreme. Thank you for that, Dr. Breland. Yes, attaining the Supreme. So in the Bhagavad Gita, as Malati was so nicely explaining yesterday, in the Bhagavad Gita you're getting preliminary knowledge of the spiritual world. You don't find detailed descriptions of Vaikuntha Loka or Goloka Vrindaban in the Bhagavad Gita. But Krishna's advertising, just like you might advertise, hey, go to this place. It's got really nice weather. But that's just, okay, well, I'm going to go because of the weather. But then actually when you go there, there's beaches and there's There's organic fruits and restaurants and everything's there. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna hints, hey, there's better weather in the spiritual world. Doesn't snow, it doesn't rain. No, that's just, it's a preliminary. And then in the Srimad Bhagavatam explains. So in the 20th verse of the 8th chapter, paras tasmat tubhavo nyo vyakto vyaktat sanatana yat sa sarveshu bhuteshu nasyatsu navinashyati. Yet there is another. Krishna's referring, he's talking, this chapter is called attaining the Supreme. Of course, Krishna gives the process for attaining the Supreme in that chapter. What is the process for attaining this Supreme abode? Here's the hint. Yet there is another unmanifest nature, which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested world. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all that is annihilated, that part remains as it is. Interesting. That same thing that's being explained in this verse, that even after the annihilation, still, this place and the inhabitor of this place, the ruler of this place, Krishna, they will stay on, right? So in the 8th chapter, this is a hint of the spiritual world, and in the 8th chapter, there is verses which explain the process, Braylon, for attaining this abode. What is the process? Can anybody remember? Bhakti Yoga, but what is the process? Well, that's not in that chapter exactly. Yeah, this is all true. But Krishna says, whatever you are thinking of at the moment of death, this is the state you will attain in your next life. Therefore, Krishna consciousness is the moment-to-moment realization of the presence of Krishna in our lives. Huh? So it's explained that the neophyte devotee, they are only Krishna conscious when they in the temple. And they don't know exactly how to act with devotees. They bow down to the Lord, but they don't know how to act to devotees. They don't know how to act even to the other people who are not devotees, right? That's a neophyte. As one advances, one learns that not only is Krishna in the temple, but Krishna's in the heart of everyone. Krishna's Krishna's there, present in his devotees, especially because the devotees are our friends who are helping remind us of Krishna. So, go on. Those transcendental planets are of a different nature altogether, and that nature is not subjected to the rules and regulations of material creation, maintenance, or annihilation. What are the rules and regulations of the material world? No, not the 4 regular principles. What are the rules and regulations of this material world? What are the constraints, Jai Krishna?
It only starts and it ends.
What is it?
It starts.
It starts, it goes in the middle and ends, right? And this is the material world, not just America, not just India, not just planet Earth. But it says in this 8th chapter again, Brahma Bhuvanaloka, from the highest planet in this material world down to the lowest, they're all places of misery because why? Birth and death, right? Birth, that's an old age disease. These things are there, even the planet of Brahma Loka. So the rules and regulations means that everyone has to get old in this world. That's a rule. Can anybody break that rule? We try to break it by faking it. We try to break it by faking it, right? Trying to keep ourselves healthy, go to the gym, wear makeup, dye our hair, shave our head, whatever it takes. But no matter how you try, old age, disease will be there, right? Show me one person who became free from those things in this world. No, you cannot. So there's the rules and regulations. Nobody gets out of here alive. That was something from a movie I saw. Nobody gets out of this place alive, right? It was actually a very good point, right? There was a song. There was another song. These songs get stuck in your head when you listen to them a million times when you're growing up as a kid. It was by the Kinks, or maybe they were called the Animals. Eric Burden. We gotta get out of this place. There's a song, right? We gotta get out of this place if it's the last thing we ever do. So the idea is that, yeah, you can find little pieces of knowledge in this world, but actually, why waste time trying to squeeze out some interpretation of some mundane songs or mundane philosophers or mundane news, right? When we can get the same knowledge directly from Krishna in the scriptures here. So again, Prabhupada goes on, the existence of the personality of Godhead implies the existence of the Vaikuntha Lokas, as the existence of a king implies the existence of a kingdom. In various places in Srimad Bhagavatam and in other revealed scriptures, the existence of the personality of Godhead is mentioned. For example, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is Prabhupada's purport. For example, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto. What canto are we studying now? Second canto, amazing. In the 8th chapter, what chapter are we studying now? In the 8th chapter, 10th verse, Maharaj Parikshit asks a question. So then he quotes the verse. Sachapi yatra purusho vishvishtityadu bhavapya muktvatma mayesha sheti sava guhashaya. He asks this question, and we'll find this question here in the previous chapter. So Prabhupada quotes the question, how does the personality of Godhead, the cause of creation, maintenance, and annihilation, who is always freed from the influence of the illusory energy and is the controller of the same, lie in everyone's heart? That's a question by Maharaj Parikshit. So how is he asking this question? That's a curious thing. Why is he asking this question, right? So we're going to look a little bit of before that, right? So this is the amazing thing about the Srimad Bhagavatam. The amazing thing about the Srimad Bhagavatam is you don't have to be intelligent before reading Srimad Bhagavatam. But you can become intelligent by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, because all the questions are being asked, right? Maharaj Parikshit going to die within 7 days. He begins asking questions. And throughout the Bhagavatam, you'll find so many questions. So he becomes curious. We are not curious. That one of the qualities, manda sumanda matayo, Bhagavatam explains that in Kali Yuga, manda sumanda matayo, we are unfortunate, unlucky, lazy, misguided, dull. We don't even have the intelligence to ask the right questions. So that's all right. Right? It's a sign of intelligence when you ask a nice question. So, but if you're dull or if the subject matter is so overwhelming, we don't have. Still, the questions are there, and the questions by Maharaj Parikshit that Prabhupada's bringing up is in relationship to his relationship to Lord Brahma again. He's starting to remember, he's hearing about Lord Brahma from Shukadeva Goswami, and Shukadeva Goswami is explaining, Brahma, who is not born of a material source, but of a lotus flower coming out of the navel abdomen of the Lord, is the creator of all those who are materially born. Of course, by the grace of the Lord, Brahma was able to see the form of the Lord. So he got this piece of information from Shukadeva Goswami, and then Maharaj Parikshit ask him, please explain the personality of Godhead who lies in everyone's heart as a super soul and as the Lord of all energies, but is untouched by the external energy. So he became curious by hearing about Krishna, by hearing about Krishna's devotees, by hearing about Krishna's abode. He became more curious and he asked a question. So Prabhupada was saying, it's interesting, Prabhupada was saying that in various places in Srimad Bhagavatam, the existence of the personality of Godhead is mentioned. The whole Bhagavatam is about the personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada quotes that verse, then he quotes another verse. The next, similar also, there is a question of Viduras. Tvatanam bhagavams tesham katita prati sankrama tattare mam ka upashiram ka uswit anushareta. Bhagavatam 3, 7:37. So what is that verse that Prabhupada is using to explain this? Third canto. Anybody can imagine. 7th chapter. Third canto. What do we find in the third canto? So many things. You find... Okay, so here we're having third canto, 7th chapter, 37th verse is further questions by Vidura. So he's asking this question here. And Prabhupada doesn't even quote the verse. So we have to quote it for us here today. 3:7:37. So the question is, or the request is, he's requesting, please describe how many dissolutions there are for the elements of material nature, and who survives after the dissolutions to serve the Lord while he is asleep. Interesting question, right? So, why is Prabhupada bringing this up in this particular case here? He starts quoting from Sridhar Swami, who was giving the commentary on this verse, which we may not have access to, or we do have a little bit in the purport. But he says here, during the annihilation of the creation, who serves the Lord lying on the sesha, etc. This means that the transcendental Lord, with all his name, fame, quality, and paraphernalia, exists eternally. The same confirmation is also there in the Kashi Kanda of the Skanda Purana in correction with Dhruva Charita. Who's Dhruva? Dhruva who? Dhruva Maharaj, right? Dhruva Maharaj, so it's explaining, right? It is said there, Nachavante pi yad bhakta mahatmyam pralayapadi. Ato chuto kile loke sa eka sarvago vyabhya. And this is why he's bringing it up. Because we know, as Krishna is explaining in this verse, Krishna says that before the creation, I was there. During the creation, I was there. After everything's annihilated, I'm there. This is the essence of this verse, right? The verse that we're reading today. Aham, evāsam, evāgre. So now Prabhupada brings up a very important point. He says that even the devotees of the Personality of Godhead are not annihilated during the period of the entire annihilation of the material world, not to speak of the Lord himself. The Lord is ever existence in all three stages of material change. So Prabhupada's giving us a hint of our future if we become a devotee. On the same level, it's called the Dhruva Charita. Charita usually refers to, in my limited knowledge of Sanskrit, Charita, like character, right? Dhruva Charita, so the character of Dhruva Maharaj was that he was such an incredible devotee. What did Krishna do for him? Before he performed his austerities, he had a desire in his heart because he was insulted by his stepmother. So he wanted to get, because he wasn't allowed to sit on the lap of his father. So in his heart, he was burning with a desire to get a kingdom better than his father, better than his grandfather, better than his great-grandfather, better than Lord Brahma. Huh? So the whole story, which we're not going to tell, but he went to the forest on the advice of his mother to find God who could fulfill his desire. Who did he meet there? Narada Muni. Narada Muni told him, well, you're a 5-year-old boy. You're going out in the forest. What do you want? So I want a kingdom. So you're 5 years old. Let's go home. Don't take this so seriously. You get a little insult. This is the nature of the world. Praise, blame, insults. Don't worry about it. Dhruva Maharaj, he was a little chatur, so he was so determined. He said, you understand what I want? I come to the forest to find God so he can fulfill my desire. I meet you, Narada Muni. All glories to you. You're such a great soul. But if you don't help me achieve my goal, then get out of my way. I have to find God. And when Narada Muni saw how determined Dhruva was to meet God, even though he was going to God, he was approaching Krishna for the material thing. He said, okay, I'll help you. And he gave him some instruction. Because he gave the first instruction, Dhruva said, I can't, you give me instructions for a Brahmin just to have equanimity and not take an insult. I'm a Kshatriya. Give me instructions I can follow. He says, okay, go in the forest, make some little deity out of the clay there, worship it, and you chant this mantra. What was the mantra? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And you perform austerities. So he started to do that, And he did it. He really put his heart into it. He was eating regularly fruits and roots from the forest. Gradually he performed more austerity. He gave up his fruits and roots. He was only eating leaves, and then he was only drinking water. Then he's only breathing air. Then he stopped breathing air, and the whole universe became perturbed. Find out what this kid wants. Anyway, he had the audience. He got the audience of Lord Vishnu. When he saw Lord Vishnu, what did he say? What did he say? He said, oh my God. When he saw Lord Vishnu, it's dazzling there, so beautiful, so full of love and smiling face and decorated with helmet and everything. He was just, my Lord, I just had a realization. I was coming here to look for broken pieces of glass. I found you. I have a diamond. I've achieved it like a diamond. So I give up all my material desires. I don't want anything. No, take something from me, the Lord was insisting. No, I don't want it. But the Lord was so kind. He gave Dhruva Maharaj, he fulfilled Dhruva Maharaj's desire by what? Giving him his own planet. Dhruvaloka, which is not annihilated at the end of Lord Brahma's life, right? So he was able to fulfill, and you can see that planet in the sky. It's called, what's it called, Madri?
Polar star.
Not the polar star, the pole star. Polar, yeah. Pole star. It's there. So anyway, this is why Prabhupada's bringing this up. And if you become such a devotee, well, of course, Dhruva Maharaj became such an incredible devotee, but even for ordinary devotees, not ordinary, extraordinary, but ordinary means if you become a pure devotee. And as like Prabhupada said, devotional service means pure devotional service. I think when you talk of gold, you're not talking of, fool's gold or, 5-carat gold. Speaking of gold, you're talking about pure gold. So in the same way, when we talk of devotee, if you want to become a devotee, or we want to become devotees, we want to become pure devotees. That's why we hear, right? Nasta pareshu abadveshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By hearing regularly words, these stories of pure devotees, the characteristics of the spiritual world, the personality of Godhead, will get desire. It's like we started off talking about how Krishna is advertising in the Bhagavad Gita, the spiritual world. Then in the Bhagavatam, it's more explained. The Vaikuntha planets are explained. And when you get to 10th canto, the whole incredible rasas, Malati was talking about the rasas, the different flavors of love that are experienced by the topmost devotees in Goloka Vrindaban, right? And still we're so dull, we're not interested. We want to see some mundane woman or some mundane man, and we want to have some mundane feelings for a mundane relationship, and thinking, this is the end. No! It's not the end. It's not even the beginning. It's a dead end. It's a dead end. But by being a devotee, all these things can be spiritualized. Your friendships, your household life, your work, everything can be a stepping stone to the spiritual world. But you have to learn the art, right? What is the art? Tadvidi paripattena pariprasnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshana. One has to learn the truth, approaching the spiritual master. Inquire submissively, render service. Self-realized soul will impart knowledge because he has seen the truth. Spiritual masters are friends. Sometimes we think, I don't want to get too close to the spiritual master because he's going to ask me to do something I don't want to do. I don't want to come to the temple so much because I might hear some preaching that says I have to give up my sense gratification. No, this means that we're not ready. But how do we become ready? By associating with devotees who are ready to accept Krishna's as our life and soul. Okay. So, Prabhupada bringing this up, the Acharyas are bringing this up about Dhruva Maharaj because he's not annihilated. Devotees aren't annihilated. Mamupetya. We can go to Krishna. Where are we at now? Okay. Here we are. I got one paragraph left. If you could hang in there with me. According to, no? Yes, one paragraph left of this purport that I was assigned to speak on. The impersonalist adduces no activity in the Supreme, but in this discussion between Brahma and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord is said to have activities also as he has form and quality. So in this Bhagavatam section, we are hearing how the Lord is a person, how the Lord has personality, right? He has an abode, and now we're hearing that he has activities also. And what are these activities called? Leela. They're pastimes. Pastimes means doesn't really have to do, but he does for his own pleasure, right? The activities of Brahma, and this is a very interesting sentence here in this purport. The activities of Brahma and other demigods during the maintenance of the creation are to be understood to be activities of the Lord. Without looking at the purport, does anybody know what this means? The activities of Brahma, here's our scholar here, the activities of Brahma and the other demigods are understood activities of the Lord. Anybody want to say, what does that mean? It's interesting. Prabhupada answers the question for us here. The king or the executive head of state may not be seen in the government offices, for he may be engaged in royal comforts. Yet it should be understood that everything is being done under his direction and everything is at his command. So, in the ultimate analysis, everything is Krishna. Everything happens by his grace. And ultimately, as he says in this verse, and these are amazing things to ponder, that before the creation, during the creation, and after the creation, it is only I, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God, that exists. So then Prabhupada goes on to say, the personality of Godhead is never formless. In the material world, he may not be visible in his personal form to the less intelligent class of men, and therefore he may sometimes be called formless. But actually, he is always in his eternal form in the Vaikuntha planets, as well as other planets of the universes as different incarnations. Well, Prabhupada gives the example of the sun. On a cloudy day like today, is the sun out? We say the sun is not out, right? We say the sun is not out. The sun is out, it's covered by clouds, right? We can't see. Or at night, we say the sun is not out. Is the sun out? Yes, we're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. So, sun is always shining. This is the example Prabhupada gives here. The example of the sun is very appropriate in this connection. The sun in the night may not be visible to the eyes of men in the darkness, but the sun is visible wherever it has risen. That the sun is not visible to the eyes of inhabitants of a particular place does not mean that the sun has no form. So because we don't see God, or we challenge, right? Sometimes people challenge. Can you show me God? I don't see God. What is the answer? Huh? What is the answer? Can you show me God?
We're in the wrong place.
I say, can you see air?
Can you see air? Yes. Okay, that's a good answer. Prabhupada said that somebody challenges, can you see God? They can't even see your inside of your eyelids. What good is these eyes? Well, in Bhagavad Gita, in the chapter of the universal form, Krishna says to Arjuna, I give you divine eyes by which you can see me. So we need to develop divine eyes. How do we get divine eyes? By having divine ears. Shastra chakshu. A devotee doesn't see with the eyes. A devotee sees with the ears. So what are we hearing? We're hearing transcendental knowledge. That way you'll be able to see and discover the soul in everyone's heart and the super soul, Krishna. Okay, so we pushed the envelope way past the time. Now it is 9 o'clock. Maybe we have time for a comment, a reflection, a question, so we don't go too far off into the prasadam. Yes, Marissa, do we have a microphone?
Thank you so much for the class.
Hare Krishna.
I just wanted to quickly comment that I'm really happy. The last point you made in the class was how devotees see with their ears. That was an amazing point.
Yes, by hearing, just like it's not so unusual, you know. I mean, similarly, like scientists, if you're studying subatomic particles, you can't see it, but you hear how, you know, in some way from scientists who have discovered things in different ways through different tests and everything. So by hearing from the right source, we have to hear from the right source. Then you're able to see Krishna's hand in everything. And therefore, in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it's explained that for one who has actually heard properly from the Lord and his devotees, then everything that happens sees it as the causeless mercy of Krishna and gives thanks. Never is there a situation where a devotee would not be thankful. So sometimes it's explained in this way, that if something happens to us, we should think, oh my Lord, I deserve so much worse, but you're minimizing my suffering because of your mercy, right? So there's so many ways to see different things. Any other questions or points or comments, reflections? Thank you for your kind attention. Madhuri, you have a chastisement for me, please.
You finished the purport, so thank you very much.
I did read the purport, even though I almost forgot the purport. But I saw you, so I remembered to read the purport. She's the class giver, assignment. So.
I just want to say Maharaj says that we are not necessarily always grateful for the things, but we are grateful in.
We're grateful in?
Not necessarily for, let's say, I'm being, mistreated. So maybe I'm not necessarily grateful for the mistreatment I'm being given, but I can be grateful in it, meaning that that I can appreciate what I can learn, how I can be humble, not for it, but in it. There's the distinction.
Okay. And be great and be grateful that it wasn't worse. I deserve worse. I think that's
it's not like, I'm grateful that somebody hits me, right, or beats me. That's not what I'm grateful for. But I can practice so many things, or I can learn things through it. So I'm not grateful for, I'm grateful in it.
This is very subtle transcendental knowledge. Thank you so much for your kind attention.
By the way, Varshana Maharaj is giving class tomorrow.
Tomorrow, Varshana Maharaj is giving class on the Vaishnava understanding of the holy day of Christmas. Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.
His Grace Nityo Dita Das.
For our guests, there is now breakfast being served right through this door. Hare Krishna, please take praścād.
Get it from the store first.
Oh, thank you.
It tastes different at home. Yeah, I don't want to say because it's so much work. I mean, I have to much motivation, but no, some people don't like it. But you know, I need a lot of good probiotics, so this is like a natural. And Maharaj needed two sides because it's much, you know, it's expensive. This bottle is like $2.5–3. And I drink, you know.
Okay? Good, you're good, you're good.
Yeah, if you know, depending.
Follow the rules.
They said it can work.
Follow the rule.
You know, in the
Keep our masks on till we take praścād.
juice, but more the natural.
This mask is not enough. You have to
And
cover
see
your
if you
whole
like
face.
that one.
Really?
Okay.
Then you have to write that says in on the back.
Thank you.
Full mask.
Get yourself, yeah.